The fifth and final pillar of food safety is the handling of foods. Food handling carries the greatest risks when dealing with cross-contamination. This pillar deals with color coding, cooling of foods, defrosting, as well as reheating procedures. When looking at color coding, we specifically talk about cutting boards and knives. We want to be able to separate the raw and ready-to-eat foods, as well as different food groups. This is in order to eliminate possibilities of cross-contamination. Therefore, separating raw meat from cooked foods prevents potential food poisoning. Ideally, raw foods should be prepared in separate areas of the kitchen, but at the very least, proper cleaning and sanitizing of the preparation area as well as cutting boards must be in place, as well as preparing of foods at separate stages rather than all together will assist in the prevention of concerns. The standard code is as follows: red for raw meat, yellow for raw chicken, blue for fish, green for fruits and vegetables, brown for cooked meat, and white for dairy and sundry items. The color codes are not necessarily set in stone, but if you choose to change the color codes, the practice must be consistent and followed throughout. So besides cutting boards and knives, cleaning materials are also usually coded to distinguish different areas from high to low risk. Preparing raw meat in a separate area from foods that will not be cooked, in other words, ready-to-eat foods, will also eliminate any possibility of cross-contamination. Hot foods should be cooled rapidly in order to minimize the time food spent in the danger zone. Defrosting of food should take place in a fridge for a day or two. This ensures even defrosting and overall quality of the food items are maintained. Blast chillers are by far the best option when it comes to cooling down foods. However, if you don't have the luxury, the following procedure applies. Once food is fully cooked, take off the heat and wait for the initial steam to run off. This usually takes about 15 minutes. Place these foods in a cold room in a dedicated area used exclusively for cooling. This would be in an area away from all other foods because cooling foods need to be left uncovered until cooled to the fridge temperatures. The food should then be covered, dated, and labeled as appropriate. Foods should not cool below 45 degrees Celsius before being placed within a cold room. Remember that this is the start of the danger zone. When closing the buffet, the foods should not be left out for longer than 30 minutes before all foods are within the fridge. Remember that we want to minimize the time food spent in the danger zone. Defrosting of food should take place in the fridge for a day or two. Foods should be placed on the lowest shelf away from any other foods that may suffer from cross-contamination. Below is a guide for defrosting items. 24 hours for 500 grams ground beef or boneless chicken. An additional 24 hours is required per 2 kilograms of larger meat portions. Once defrosted, the foods must be used within 1 to 2 days. Red meat cuts, such as steaks, can be kept for up to 5 days in order to ensure that the quality does not deteriorate. Time is usually a luxury in the kitchen, and pre-planning is sometimes not enough. The defrosting in cold water can be done, but should be used as the last resort. Bacteria such as Campylobacter thrives in basins and can cause severe food poisoning, usually from chicken. So be careful when you follow these procedures. Frozen foods must be completely sealed and watertight, fully immersed in the cold water. The basin should be cleaned and sanitized before and after defrosting in order to prevent any cross-contamination. As a guide, defrosting takes 1 hour for small packs of meat, poultry and seafood. Larger packs take up to 3 hours to fully defrost. Meats must be cooked within that day and cannot be left over for the following day. There are defined practices that must be avoided when defrosting. Foods should not rise above 4 degrees Celsius when defrosting. Foods should also never be left out at ambient temperature to defrost. Remember the danger zone. Foods should never be refrozen. This damages the product, causing spoilage. Using hot water to defrost only defrosts the surface, allowing bacteria to survive within the product. This also affects the product quality. Defrosting food should never be placed above any other foods in the fridge due to the potential for cross-contamination. Remember, juices from meat carry a high bacterial load. When reheating foods, products must be completely heated by cooking to a core temperature of 70 degrees Celsius or by bringing liquids to the boil. Reheating should only take place when the use of ovens, microwaves and gas tops. This is to ensure that rapid heating of foods, remember, rapid heat kills bacteria. Cooking and reheating of foods does kill common bacteria, but is no defense against toxin-producing bacteria such as Staphylococcus aureus. This is because the toxins produced by the bacteria is heat stable and able to resist high temperatures and cause food poisoning. This is why all of the food safety pillars should be followed and should be used together in order to maintain a good foundation.